Yes, Anne Mary.
Thank you, Tagar. That sure made this come alive to me. And it was so amazing how you put it together. It was so wonderful. And I thank you for that. I have one question though too on the cherubims. They appear to be like Egyptian form heads. Is that right, or am I seeing it wrong?
Uh, Again, those are artists' imaginations. Uh, we don't know for sure how they actually were were put together by Solomon. So various artists imagine them to be slightly different, but we have some features of cherubim. Whenever a prophet Isaiah, prophet Ezekiel, or different prophets, they would see these cherubims. They write some things about them. So if we assemble all the things that people have noted down, actually they might see more things about cherubim, but then wrote down only few things. So we have limited information. Based on that, what artists would typically do is they add their own stuff to make it more attractive or whatever reasons, and they borrow from Egypt and Ten Commandments. I know your concern, but in the Feast of Tabernacles, I'm spending one full presentation on cherubims. Perhaps that might help you.
That also must be like popular at that time too. Just like today things are popular. But today was so wonderful. It just brought it alive to me. So I thank you very much.
I'm glad
Thank
that you liked Anne Mary. Appreciate your feedback.
Thank you.
In the inner and the outer chambers.
Yeah.
I never noticed that before. So when the priests did their work every day, they were walking on a gold surface.
Yeah.
I mean, that's kind of amazing to think about. It would be very strange to walk on top of gold. It says surrounding the gold, surrounding the throne of God. I think it's in Revelation. It says surrounding is like gold that's clear.
You're right. New Jerusalem, the pavement is gold.
Yeah.
All the sidewalks are gold.
Maybe I can
Similar.
find that. So the floor of the tabernacle is supposed to be gold overlaid.
Mm-hmm.
And let's see. Revelation 21:18 puts it this way, and the building of the wall of it was jasper, and the city was pure gold, like onto clear glass. So it's gold and yet clear at the same time. And verse 21, Revelation 21:21.
Yeah, the street of the city was pure gold, as it were transparent glass.
So maybe this is why the tabernacle was constructed with a floor that was covered in gold. It was a representation here of what's being said in verse 21.
Yeah.
Another thing that I had not noticed before is in verse 38, 1 Kings 7:38 says it took 7 years to construct. And I never thought that through. But the significance of 7 being a time of completion. Verse 38 says, or is it 6:38? Must be 6:38.
Okay.
Yeah. So was he 7 years in building it?
Yeah, it took that long. Yeah.
All the details being attended to by extremely precise craftsmen.
And also I heard there was 13 years delay break, not known before they dedicated.
Oh, okay.
I heard it, I just have to verify that. But interesting things, what is gold represents? Why gold everywhere? I think symbology of gold is completely refined and cleansed and also tested, tried, that is gold. But now gold coupled with in Revelation we saw it's transparent, it's clear.
Yeah,
So another way of saying it is not only gold, but it is also clear and transparent. So no blemish, no impurities. So in other way, is not talking about gold. It's much beyond gold. Some spiritual concepts he's presenting. That's what I believe.
yeah, and for us to try to imagine a gold that's transparent is not really conceivable
Correct.
for us because there is no such a thing in the physical realm for us to compare that to. So it just seems so so mysterious and so glorious to us to try to imagine such a thing. But these priests would every day go in to tend to the burning of incense, taking care of the lamps, and they're walking on a gold surface. I never thought of that before. But that's the truth of the matter, isn't it?
Yeah, we walk on that gold represents righteousness. Remember, Christ said to Laodicean church, buy gold from me refined in fire.
Yeah.
That's righteousness. So everybody, when walking on gold, figuratively, we are walking in righteousness. We would be, otherwise you would not be in New Jerusalem. But here the
Yeah.
priests in shadow, they are physically walking on physical gold, isn't it? Let's go to Buddy. He raised it. Buddy, please go ahead.
Gold, pure gold, it doesn't ever oxidize. So once gold is in a, put together, once you have a chunk of gold, it never oxidizes or diminishes. It's always there, unless you beat it up and, make it smaller. But all small pieces of gold never oxidize. It's what they call, well, it's a noble metal. And you can make gold where you can see through it. That's how they make some lasers, some laser reflectors. I remember years ago, I was talking to an engineer and he wanted to know how to do that. And I was telling him how to do that because I learned how to do it from a fellow that I was working with. It was a rocket scientist guy. But yeah, gold is pure and it's noble and it never oxidizes. So it will always remain pure once you get it in a pure state. So if you want to look at it, that kind of like a spiritual thing, the purity of the spirit.
Wow, there you go. There's always something more to learn. That's fascinating. Thank you, Buddy. Any other things you want to contribute, add, comment upon? Any suggestions to improve? Anything you can speak of? Yes, Alan.
So Ephesians 2:21 is
Okay.
something I was looking at as you were talking about the quarries and how they at the time, the cutting of the stones, were to be done off-site, right? And they were to be brought in to be put in place in verse 21,
Oh, 21.
that they would fit. So they come from the quarry ready to fit, already ready for fitting into the temple.
Isn't it a striking verse? That's exactly what he's saying.
Yeah. It's already fitly framed together when they're put in. So each member of the body that comes into this construction of this temple is fitly framed already. It's fitted in and builded together for habitation of God through the Spirit. So there's the shadow and then the reality.
This is reality. This is us. Just fascinating. When we were taken out from quarry, probably we were shaped already, and we were brought together into one congregation, one Zoom room. We just fit each other, fitly framed together. I appreciate very much, Alan, your incense, golden altar of incense. They do it every morning and every evening. That pictures our prayers. So fairly regular basis, we need to pray. Morning and evening. Doesn't mean every morning and every evening. It's a fairly regular basis. So that I missed out. I wanted to cover that also when he built the altar of incense. How do we build altar of incense for us? We build a pattern, a schedule. You must pray. Some people have a ground rule that without prayer, they don't step out of the house. So such rules for yourself, whichever is convenient, whichever works for you, to make sure that you pray on a regular basis. That's perhaps kind of building altar of incense. Any other comments, feedback, insight that you know, something which we have not discussed or which we do not know? Otherwise, all this silent time, we're giving more work to Peggy. She has to find all these gaps and take them out. Yes, Alan.
I don't want to make Peggy have more work than she needs to do. In the beginning of the study, you were talking about the things that cause an abomination.
Yeah.
In the temple.
Yeah.
And I was trying to remember some things throughout biblical history that did that. One of the things, soon after the construction of the temple, the tabernacle, was Aaron's two sons offering strange fire when they were drunk.
Yeah.
The next one I have here is Eli's sons. They were sleeping with women at the door of the temple, and they were priests.
Yeah.
Number 3 is in Malachi. They offer the lame and the maimed animals for sacrifice,
Mhm.
rather than that which is without spot. And there was the case of Hezekiah and there's the case of Josiah. Both of those kings had to restore temple worship because the temple was neglected. It was left kind of to ruin, and it was the system of worship was not functioning. So
Mhm.
those two kings did restore worship in Judah, in Jerusalem.
Mhm.
And the last one I'll mention is the two cleansings. Christ cleanses the temple in the beginning of his ministry, and then at the end, he does it again for making it a house of merchandise.
Yeah.
So
That's
there's a
corruption.
list of 5 different things that bring an abominable situation.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. Yes, Anne Mary, go ahead, please.
I just have one more question too. When you were reading with the temple, and you said dig a hole in the wall,
Yeah.
to see what's done in secret.
Yeah.
And I didn't, when I read it, I didn't see that, but I'm glad you brought that out, because it does, like you said, all looks good, but all is not good. And so if you dig a hole inside and look hard enough, you'll see abomination. So I thought that was very interesting.
That's a very fascinating and sometimes troubling thing that God mentions in Ezekiel 8.
Yes.
I'm planning to speak certain things hard for people to digest, but I am going to speak anyways. When we come to that in a couple of presentations, I hope to bring that exposes the false brethren and false teachers and false leaders. They do something in secret, but they pretend to be good. They pretend to be God-fearing, and they maintain the facade. The whole congregation group maintains a facade that everything is okay, everything is good, everything is holy, everything is righteous. That's the facade, and that wouldn't work with God. No wonder he digs a hole through the wall and shows it to Ezekiel. So that's interesting. Yeah.
And the Lord says, do not be deceived. So that's interesting. You build
That's
a hole.
exactly, you have to do your detective work. You are
Yes.
called to be a detective.
Well, thank you very much.
You're welcome. And Mary, these are not traditional teaching. Yes, Alan.
This is one of the things that happened at the Reformation. When these men like John Huss began to break away from the Catholic Church, these were Catholic priests. These were men who were immersed in that system, and their conscience could no longer permit them to be a part of that system.
Mm-hmm.
So John Huss and Tyndale and others, especially Martin Luther, who, with all the flaws that we can point out in armchair quarterbacking, Martin Luther and others like Calvin, and these men who got on this bandwagon of we are no longer going to participate in this corruption. Now, these men were higher ups in the Catholic system and broke off. And sure, we can criticize them for what they were afterwards, for the ignorance they had or for their imperfections. But they laid their lives down for the cause of speaking out and leaving, as Tagore said earlier, run for your life kind of thing, get out of there, come out of Babylon. That's what these men did. Now they're despised by the COGs because they weren't perfect in their understanding, and they did not see things the way we do today. Because the history they lived with, their experience, didn't permit them to have an environment like what you have here today. Or like some of the movements that we've seen in the last couple hundred years. But nonetheless, they did exactly that. At threat of death, they decided we can no longer abide this. So I thought I'd throw that out there just for food for thought. Because I don't despise those men. I think they did respond to their conscience and reject what they knew was evil, in spite of their flaws that they retained afterwards and were probably ignorant of and didn't know any better. So that's just food for thought.
Yeah, we tend to less gravitate on perfect track record, either doctrinally or sinlessness. Nobody has such track record. But the good thing is they're able to get out of the system the moment they saw the abomination that which maketh desolate. They're able to run for their lives. However, imperfections they have. Even David has those imperfections. That's the beauty of it. Like sometimes there are simple decisions God wants you to make. It's not hard. I mean, it's hard to leave your 30-year-old friendships, to leave the church, but it's not that difficult as getting rid of all sins. Anyway, let's go to Marlene. Yes, Marlene.
Yeah, thank you for your presentation, Tagore. Very interesting. I'm thinking about, when you say to run, get away, that what you're really running from is lies. When there is deception there, or, there's half truths presented, and you realize, whether the structure is not the way God would do it, or the doctrine or the teachings, it's halfway there and not complete truth. And you realize these are lies and you need to get away from them and be so focused on what God says. This is what you follow. What does God say to do here? And that's what I think it's so important, that you run away from those lies, get as far away from them as you can, because God is truth. And that's where you want to go. You want to be where God is. You want to be with the truth, not with the lies, because God is not there with lies. He doesn't mix with lies. He is so focused on truth. And I think if we focus on that and keep heading toward truth, and it seems like the further you get away from lies, things I find things that I believed and realized, oh, that's not true. And you first, study things, and then you realize that's not true. And then you start to see the truth of it. And the further you get toward truth, the more you can see how you've walked away from a lie. And it's like they both magnify, and you can see the difference between the two. It's just so important to go with the truth, because that's where God is.
Very, very well said, Marlene. And if we lose truth, everything is lost. There's a saying, if you lose money, you haven't lost anything. If you lose your health, you lost something. If you lose your character or truth, you lost everything. So if truth is not there, there is no life. There is no character. Everything is lost. Well said, Marlene. Thank you. Let's go to Stan. Yes.
Yes, I did have to step away for a while, so if these scriptures were quoted, I apologize for being redundant. But very early in the presentation, I remember you saying that it's not as important how we start as we finish. I believe you said that very early in the presentation, and it made me think of two verses in particular, Matthew 24:13, but he that shall endure to the end, the same shall be saved. So Christ didn't say that we simply have to endure. He said we had to endure to the end. And the other one that came to mind was Revelation 2:26. In the letter to the church of Thyatira, Christ said, and he that overcometh and keep my works unto the end, to him will I give power over the nation. So again, in this verse, he didn't simply say, keep my works. He said to keep them unto the end. So that confirms, backs up the statement you made that we not only, that having a good finish, a good ending is very, very important. I'm done.
Yes, Stan, that's so important. That's to stay to the end, we should be aware of the dangers. One of the prime dangers is abomination, desolation. God wants us to watch out, keep watching. That's one. The other could be your complacence, just become lazy. And there are several slippages, but one of the important slippage could be abomination, desolation, preventing you to be faithful unto the end. There are tons of other verses also based in that principle. There's one verse that tells you if you're very righteous person all through, at the end, if you forsake the way, then all your righteousness would be counted as unrighteousness. But on the other hand, if you're unrighteous all through your life, and last you repent and make good decisions and seek righteousness, then God says all your unrighteousness that you have done all through your life would be forgotten. And your righteousness, which you did it at the end, will be remembered. That may seem unfair to the human reasoning, human mind, but that's how God operates. So we give up our human reasoning and we basically give up everything, our own ideas, our ideology. Whatever God says stands. Yes, go ahead, Stan.
Yeah, some of your last comments, Tagore, remind me of the parable of the man who sought laborers for his vineyard, and some were hired early in the morning, some were hired in the middle of the day, some were hired near the end of the day, and as you well know, they all received the same wage, and that did seem unfair to the ones who were hired in the early morning. I don't have the parable before me right now, but if my memory is correct, I think the owner made a statement something along the lines of, are you jealous because I am generous? Or he made some such statement showing his generosity, if my memory is correct. I'm done.
That's correct. He says, is your eye evil because I am good? So he basically calls it evil eye if you're complaining.
Yeah, I remember he also said, am I not allowed to do with my own things what belongs to me?
Yeah. Yeah.
If I choose to give more to someone, it's my money. It's my resource. Am I not allowed to do that?
Yeah.
It does. You're right, Stan. It's very challenging for us to accept that. And that's a difficult one because we're in a world of, I want what's fair for me. I want what I perceive as just. And if somebody gets a gift and I don't get one. Someone gets an award and I don't get one. If someone gets a promotion and I don't get one, I feel cheated. How dare you give to someone else and not give to me? It's very difficult for our human nature to swallow that, because we're not naturally inclined to accept that someone gets something more than what I get.
I'm still searching for that verse where it says all your righteousness would be forgotten. It's a scary verse. Jenny is gone.
Well, I want to show everyone this book. As I was following it through what you were reading tonight, I'm reading from the parallel version of Chronicles and Kings and Samuel, which is it's a great book to have. There's more than one of these produced. I had two different ones by different authors, and I got rid of one of them. But it's similar to it's laid out like a harmony of the Gospels, only it's a harmony of Kings and Chronicles and Samuel. So as you were reading through, you were in Chronicles, I was seeing all the things in Kings at the same time that Chronicles didn't mention. It's kind of a neat book laid out side by side on a page.
I never knew that this one existed. I always do laborious comparison. Very nice.
Yeah, it's a nice book to have if you're covering that material.
Yeah. Oh, who is the author that you have? Author or publisher?
Oh, it's got a list of several.
Oh, lots of this.
I can take a screenshot of it and send it to you.
Yeah, that would be nice.
Or you can borrow it for a while if you want.
No, I'll buy one because I need that, because it covers six books. Samuel, Kings, and Chronicles. There's lots of overlap.
It actually includes parts of Isaiah, parts of Jeremiah that also have, it's necessary to put them in for parallel purposes.
Interesting.
But most of it is Kings and Chronicles and Samuel.
I'll get it. So you all can order that. Those are very helpful tools, utilities.
Where's my camera? There. You have to be careful if you look at some of the parallel versions that are offered, that they come in a version that you like. Because this one I think is in New American Standard.
Okay.
Which I don't really prefer. But the other one was New Revised Standard. I didn't like the New Revised Standard that much.
Yeah. I think if we have one for King James or New King James, probably we can order.
Actually, this one here is the New Revised Standard. But the other one I got rid of was another version that I did not like.
I see.
So it's limited. You might not find the one you want. But at least it does lay it out side by side for people that want to do that kind of examination.
It's on Amazon for $58.99.
Wow.
It's expensive.
Yeah,
You
Is
can
that this
find
one?
used books.
yeah, it's the exact same one.
Oh,
And that's the new, I mean, it says buy new $58.99, so I don't know if they've got used ones out there. Oh yeah, acceptable used one is 35.
this one was 39 when it was new.
Ah, where'd you get it?
I think I got it probably on Amazon.
Okay,
Long time ago, though.
Dan has a question.
Dan, go ahead.
Is my hand raised? I didn't think I did.
Or maybe we did not down it.
I probably forgot to unraise it, lower it.
Okay, I'm done.
Okay. But Alan, to your point, there are too many artifacts in the temple. It takes lots of time if I focus just on temple between shadow and the reality. I touched few points today, whichever are relevant for abomination desolation.
Yeah,
This is not one-on-one study of temple.
no, there's a lot of other aspects. Such as the high priest garments is another aspect.
Yeah,
Um,
I would come back though for Revelation 17 and 18. I have to come back to high priest and the rituals that they do, animals that they sacrifice.
mhm.
Otherwise, you can't really do justice to 18, Revelation 18. But that would take lots of time then. We are not making, I don't know when we would come out of 2 witnesses.
Yeah, because if you want to look at the sacrifices, you have to look at the first 7 chapters of Leviticus and then try to see how that lines up as a shadow, and each sacrifice has nuances of representation. It's a lot to do. You know, because the peace offering is different than the sin offering. Yeah, so there's a lot of variety of offerings.
Because
You
the
can't-
Revelation 18, it just picks up one word from this whole Old Testament procedures or furnitures. One phrase or one word. So from there, you have to weave your way to the entire scan through the temple, scan through the people, persons, and the activities. You scan through lots of whole around temple, then you identify what it represents in the reality, each of these things. And then you would make sense how the whore riding the beast would be in reality in the end times. So if we want to see the whore, there is no shortcut. We are putting on ourselves lots of work, but it's fine. And Rita asked for 144,000. So after Abomination Desolation, I will give a couple of presentations on 144,000. Now this topic is going really popular across the international. They seem to be more interested about Abomination Desolation than anything else, either Gospel of John, Gospel of Luke, or epistles of John, nothing hits as abomination, desolation hits. You're muted, Alan.
Generally speaking,
Yeah.
people are drawn to prophecy more than other categories of study, such as, Christian living or other aspects, more than a doctrinal study on some specific doctrine. People want to know more about prophecy, generally speaking. Now, years ago, when the organized churches would put out a booklet on prophecy, it would be a very high demand book. And so it was what attracted a lot of people. And today, even today, you see that in a lot of popular ministries that focus on prophecy. They tend to get a pretty good audience.
Yes, Stan.
Yes, Alan, your comments on the prophecy being booklets in high demand. I remember I had a cousin who I believe it was in the mid 90s, late 90s, joined United and was surprised to see me there. We're relatives. And he told me that he was reading the books on prophecy, and I'll quote his words as best I can remember them. And he said he wanted to be in the right church when the bombs started to fall. So prophecy seems to have heavily motivated his attendance, although I don't want to make absolute statements because I can't read his heart, but his words seem to indicate that the prophetic events in the booklet were high motivating factors for him to start to attend. I'm done.
Yeah, and you can understand that people want to save their own skin, Many people in the past would tout themselves as being part of the one true church. Therefore, I will keep you from the hour of trial that shall come upon the whole earth. Because after all, you're in the one true church. You're part of the membership of that one true church. So you can see the carnal aspect of people wanting to save themselves from great tribulation. And my friend who is a Jehovah's Witness, they are the one true church. And if you go to the Catholic Church, they are the one true church. On and on it goes. So all these organizations, both big and small, will make that claim that they are the one. And if you step outside, I was even at a time, we knew Ron Wineland when he was making his separation from back in 1997. And he was saying that he's the one. Afterwards, he declared himself to be the witness, and his wife the other witness. They are the two witnesses. So that's another way of saying he's the one true church, right? On and on it goes. History is replete with the one true church doctrine. So see that you be not deceived.
And if I could interject quickly, I know I didn't raise the hand, but I know in our technological age that we have now, in many people's minds, the definition of the one true church is you have to have your name on the correct computer roster. If you do that, you're in the one true church. But if your name is instead logged in with another organization, you're not in the one true church. So again, talk about basics. Many people don't understand what church with a capital C actually means. I'm done.
Yeah, because even if you could actually be in a true church. If you're in attendance there and in fellowship there, and then you're actively involved in the operations, but you're not doing the work that's required to maintain your life spiritually. What good is it, right? But there is no such thing as the one true church, corporately speaking. I know that sounds like a bold statement, doesn't it? But everyone knows the church is not a corporation.
And if I could just jump in again, I agree with you. And many people would give lip service to what you just said, but their actions would betray them. I'm done.
Yeah, you got to do the work, and nobody can do it for you. So grow in grace and knowledge. Your one true church can't do that for you. You have to grow in being gracious, learning what it means to be gracious, and in the knowledge of Jesus Christ. No one can do it for you. Not even the one true church can do that for you on your behalf. You have to do the work. Work out your own salvation with fear and trembling? Yeah. The one true church can't do that for you. You have to work it out with both fear and trembling. So I don't even know why I'm talking about this. I forgot why that came up. I'm done.
Next presentation, I want to focus on dedication of temple. It's a great prayer he makes. And glory of God comes and fills the whole temple. And that finishes the good green circle where presence of God is there, everything good. And then I will jump to Ezekiel 8 and start exploring the abomination desolation. And that would wrap up the abomination desolation series. If you want, you can do your own personal study of Solomon. Solomon, you can make case study 7 on your own, how he goes bad. Want to get back to 144,000, God willing, after the abomination desolation. And then we would be back to Jeremiah 51.
Sounds like a great plan, Tagore. Thank you.
You're welcome, Rita.
Tagore, do you think that it's overwhelming for Brian and Jenny?
No,
Mhm.
they are working. So tomorrow they have to get up and attend to work.
No, what I mean by that is the material overwhelming.
Oh, certainly.
The concepts, because I'm thinking about myself 40 years ago, how it would have seemed to me 40 years ago to hear a Bible study with this kind of material included, and would I have been able to absorb it, or to, as someone that's kind of like new to everything, would it be too much? I'm wondering that. I don't know.
She said she will pick up whatever she's able to pick up from the studies. She finds them very interesting, even though everything is new. Shadow is
Okay.
new, spiritual reality is new, everything is new for her. And she's sad that she's not able to contribute to the discussions. She couldn't even raise a question. So that's her kind of regret, you can say. That's what she said. But
Well, it's,
yeah.
yeah, it's scary to raise a question because when you don't know much,
Yeah.
it's a little intimidating because you're afraid you're going to ask something that's silly or stupid, or and you're afraid people will think of you as not knowing anything. So you don't want to reveal your ignorance. At least that's the way it was for me in my first year attending a COG. You know, it's hard when you first start out and you have limited comprehension.
I would imagine it would be hard for them, overwhelming definitely, with so many details or just dumping on them. So
Yeah.
You
It's a
guys, I
lot.
find it hard. I mean, I'm trying to absorb all this myself. And I've
think you
been in
do.
the church for quite a while.
they were baptized in June this year.
Oh, wow.
So they
Well,
have
anyway, I love these studies, but they're so full that I have a hard time just grasping it all. So I can understand what Alan is saying. It'd be, you know, difficult sometimes to get it all in your brain, I think. But I'm so grateful to him. That's why I take notes so I can go back and look at it.
but the
I think you, I
sit
think
in
you do a
your
good
mind.
job, Tagore, of explaining things as you're going
Yes.
through. And I think that's very helpful. I'm sure they're learning a lot. Yeah, I think you do a good job on that.
Thank you.
I agree. It's wonderful. There's so much there though that I have to really try and absorb it. It takes me a couple days to get it. Sometimes I have to go back a couple times just to hear it all again. So that might be some of the meds I'm on too. Who knows?
Yeah, after a few years, when you look back, you are a different person. You are more into spiritual reality than you were before because of all this material. It slowly feeds you. That growth is not apparent. If you have an old friend from COGs, after 5 years, you meet them and talk to them, they will tell you the difference. Your understanding grows, your knowledge and your discernment grows, and your behavior also grows. It changes a lot. The way you approach, the way you show your gentleness and your patience. Now you understand more about what they are going through, how they were blinded. But if somebody tries to poison you with spiritual poison, you would detect readily. Because you're familiar with these scripts. So the way you see things changes forever. The spiritual dynamics. You see the danger and you would cry out, and others who are not studying have no clue. Sometimes they might count you as a silly person. What's wrong with that? So that kind of difference would come eventually. I'm glad that you're all sacrificing your times and your time and things that you would normally do and coming to these studies. And Alan, you want to say something?
Oh, no, no, I'm just thinking about, I'm looking down at
Maybe we can stop recording then, unless you have.
well, I was thinking about the 12 bulls holding up the bronze sea, the washing basin, called the bronze sea. And
Yeah,
the
we're still
12,
on the topic then. Okay.
yeah, the 12 bulls would be, I know you made reference to it, it's those who carry the gospel forward. But having 12 apostles being sent out
Mm-hmm.
all
You go.
is the beginning of the gospel going out after the ascension of Christ.
Yeah.
Go and teach all nations, all 12 of you. Well, 11 anyway, right? Until they replaced Judas. And so the 12 bulls and 12 apostles. And the number 12 across scripture is
Yeah.
so symbolic of many things.
See, their backs are always tied up to this laver and the water in it. So on their back, there is always that living water, water of wood. The way God designed those things are just fascinating. More you look at it, more you see.
And the 12 bulls are looking in 4 directions,
Yeah,
northeast, southwest. So the apostles, when they went out, they went in different directions.
correct. Yes.
They didn't all go in the same direction.
No.
They went out into the world carrying that water, living water with them.
Yeah.
If any man wants to
First.
follow after me, let him come to me and drink, it says.
Yeah.
John 7. And out from his belly, his inward part shall flow rivers. The symbol of the Holy Spirit flowing forth. But that's the work, is you have to come to him and drink. Otherwise, you will not have the river of living water
No.
going forth out of you.
I think its a statement is not translated correctly. I think the pure, clean river keeps flowing from Christ into us. That's a fairly continuous process, and from our bellies also, it fairly continuous basis goes out.
Yep. Or at least in an ideal situation, it is.
Yeah. I mean, so the teachers also grow with more water coming into them, and they also give more water to the people who are receiving the water, and
Because
they
they're
become source of again the living waters. Out of their bellies also eventually the water flows out, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And I think it's Isaiah 55, come to the waters and drink. So this water being representation of the Spirit of God. You're going to be studying Luke here pretty soon.
Yeah.
And when we come to the 4th chapter, Jesus Christ comes to Nazareth, his hometown, stands up to read from the scroll of Isaiah. And he says, "The Spirit of the Lord is upon me." And then he describes the result of the Spirit of the Lord going out from him
Mhm.
to heal the brokenhearted, open the eyes of the blind, and so forth. That's what's supposed to happen when the oxen carry the water in 4 directions. The symbol of the healing of people and the opening in the eyes of people.
Breaking
We
the
know-
chain and
And we know that that did in fact accompany the apostles when they went out. Anyway, it's kind of a tangent. I'm going on a tangent a little bit here.
yeah, I mean, it's a good tangent.
I was wondering about the steps that were going up to the altar. Didn't Christ say not to make steps going up to it? And I'm thinking, how do you get this animal up those steps?
That's a good
Got a big-
question.
Got a big oxen. I mean, what do they do? Get it up there and then slaughter it? Do they cut it in pieces? Is that, I don't know. It just didn't look
Or
realistic.
they have to use stairs. They have to get to the top of it to maintain it, cleanse it, carry the animal. And once they kill the animal, they have to walk up the stairs, and there are 4 horns. So they have to apply the blood to the horns of the altar.
Yeah, I just didn't imagine the altar being so tall.
Yeah, that became very big in the temple. It was not like that in tabernacle.
Yeah, I guess that's what I'm thinking of. Why they would make this one so tall, I don't know.
Those came from God via David.
Oh, there's it's an interesting verse concerning the tabernacle in Exodus 20, verse 26. "Neither shalt thou go up on steps to my altar, that thy nakedness be not discovered thereon." That's Exodus 20, 26. So the requirement at that point in time was a design that did not have steps going up to the altar.
Yeah, that altar is functionally different from this altar, I think. It's embodiment of whole temple there. Because they have nothing else than just altar. It's a very primitive, how shall we say? It's a very early, smallest representation.
Yeah, portability.
Yeah, at that point, it represented the whole temple. Here, it has like sophistication and separation, different parts doing different things. So you have Holy of Holies separate, well protected and far away from this altar. So the name altar is same at both the places, but I think it's bit different.
So do you think the stairways going up in the temple are, is that an accurate description?
I mean, just we need to find some translation. It may not be exactly like our stairways. Who knows how? It may not have all this sophistication with which we build our stairways. But it's a two-tier chambers. So people have to get to the upper chamber. Or they might have simple ladder. Who knows?
Sometimes the artists take a little bit of liberty.
Yeah, the translators would take that liberty, especially if Catholics are there in that translation committee. They go wild. They take
Yeah,
more.
I'm looking at the word stairs here, a word search, and it's not found in the design of the tabernacle.
Oh, tabernacle you may not find. You find it
Or
in
temple. In the temple.
Yeah.
I'm not finding it. So I don't know how they would support the idea. I think that was Marlene's question. But some of the others, I noticed that they don't all have that same. Do all the artists show it as the altar as being at the top of stairs? I don't know.
There are number of steps also, I think it was mentioned.
The one of the ones that you showed in the video, it showed stairways going from the holy place up to the most holy place.
I see.
You remember that in the video?
Yeah, video just for idea I have shown, not that it is 100% accurate. Sometimes the position of laver and position of altar, they sometimes shift a little bit. I don't have to double check if they have shown stairs there.
Yeah, well, they're trying to help people understand the main elements.
So, you know, Tagore, on that picture that you had, the steps going up, there's one that says 7 steps and then 8 steps. Is there some significance to the number there?
I haven't researched that yet, Rita. That's a good question. I have spent more number of years on tabernacle. And
Yeah,
then
okay.
second temple. This Solomon's temple is of low interest for me. Now I'm studying for your sake, like for this series, I started studying Solomon's temple.
Well, it sure has been interesting. Thank you.
You're welcome. It has too many complex architecture and complex additions to the tabernacle. But they all came from God, so we have to study. I'm not saying I have an excuse.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's interesting. One of the words that's used is it was given to David by handwriting. Let's see if I can find that verse. The design of Solomon's temple. David got the design, not Solomon.
No,
David gets the design and gives it to Solomon.
correct. For Moses, the pattern was shown. So Moses sees the pattern on the top of Mount Sinai, and he comes down and gives the instructions. But for David, nothing is shown. It is directly injected through Holy Spirit into him. Isn't it fascinating that God?
Yeah, it's quite fascinating, really. When you think about how could that be delivered in that manner? I'm trying to find the verse. I'm not finding it right now.
So Revelation 18 is jam-packed with all the temple language and temple vocabulary. So for that sake, at least we have to study Solomon's temple.
Oh, okay, I see it. It's in First Chronicles 28:19. This is where it was given. This is really an intriguing verse because David's told, no, you don't get to build, but I'm going to give you the design anyway. So David gets to see the design and he never lives to see it built. But he gets to see the design. Isn't that something? Verse 19.
Yeah.
In writing by his hand upon me. Even all the works of this pattern. That's amazing verse. What, how did David convey to Solomon this pattern? Did he do it by drawing it on some material? He just says to Solomon, be strong and have good courage and do it. Solomon, do it. Fear not.
We don't know how David communicated to Solomon.
No, it doesn't say how.
In the modern times, people will come and accuse David. It's all conjecture, man. How do you know that God surely told you these patterns?
Yeah. It's very intriguing, the way it was delivered. Through David, it was delivered. And his son builds.
Yeah, instructions come from father, but the son is actual builder. He is a designated king.
Yeah.
And the king has to build. The ruler has to build. Now Moses was in the office of king. Even though he was not called king, he was ruler and judge for Israel. So it is always king that builds the temple, not the priest. See because king has at his disposal all the resources, all the manpower, and he can get the things done. But the priest, once temple is completed and to make it functional, then the priest would come on scene. Everything is meticulously planned. The roles and division of labor, different officers doing different specializations. how intricate the work is. And then when the new covenant comes, all these offices and roles are merged into one person and one entity. So we become kings, we become priests, and we become prophets. All the offices are shouldered on our shoulders under new covenant.
Yeah. Can you go over to Zechariah chapter 6?
Okay.
Zechariah 6. 8 chapter 6, verse 8 and 9. Or 8 through 10.
You want to read that?
Zechariah 6. Oh, you got a different verse than I do. My verse 8 says, moreover, the word of the Lord came unto me, saying.
Is it Zechariah 6? The
Yeah.
chapter.
Oh, I'm sorry. Chapter 4.
Okay.
I'm way off. Yeah, 4, 8, 8, and 9, and word of the Lord came unto me, Zechariah, saying, the hands of Zerubbabel have laid the foundation of this house. His hands shall also finish it.
Yeah. Again, you have a king, right? Zerubbabel, the governor.
Yeah, he was the governor. Yeah. And thou shalt know that the Lord of hosts has sent me unto you. So here we see Zerubbabel beginning, but Zerubbabel doesn't live long enough to see the completion of the task.
Mm-hmm.
Here it says his hands shall finish it. So this is symbology of Christ beginning, starting the church in the first century, and then finishing the spiritual temple of
Correct.
Christian.
Very fascinating way you are unfolding this. He laid the foundation and apostles built on top of that, right?
Yeah. And then he says in verse 10, for who hath despised the day of small things? The New Testament church started out very small.
Yeah.
And 3,000 people were scattered across the known civilized world
Mm-hmm.
from the day of Pentecost. It was a day of small things as far as the world at that time was. But the language here is fascinating. For they who are involved in this small thing shall rejoice, and they shall see the plummet in the hand of Zerubbabel, Christ. With those 7, there the eyes of the Lord run to and fro. We see the 7 eyes in Revelation.
Yeah.
So this is some very obscure kind of difficult to really fully analyze. You see the previous verse 7. Who art thou, O great mountain, before Zerubbabel? Thou shalt become a plain. And what does Christ say?
That is explained as Babylon. That
Whoever
mountain.
has faith of a mustard seed shall say to this mountain, be gone.
Yeah, yeah, there you go. This Babylon would be leveled by Jesus Christ.
Anyway, I just thought I'd throw that out there since no one else is talking. You might not know this about me, but I can talk.
I think everybody know that Everybody knows that by now.
I like listening to you too.
You're also obviously night people, which I am not. So I'm going to sign off and thank you again, everybody, and have a good evening.
Thank you,
I
Marlene.
think,
Hi, Marlene, I should probably get off too, you guys, but thanks so much for everything. I appreciate it.
Okay, we'll
Yeah.
stop recording.
Bye.
Yeah.